Hey everyone, Matt from Savant here. Excited to show you how we run Python with the Savant platform. So before we jump in, a few quick notes. The Savant approach is a cloud native way of doing this. So different than the old school way of running Python where you have to set up a local notebook, you have to pip in all the libraries you want to use, do all that setup work, and then anyone you want to hand this Python code off to, you have to make sure they have a similar setup, they have the right libraries installed, etc. Maybe also make sure they're getting the latest and greatest version of your Python code each time. We use the public cloud, to help you manage all this, run it in a more modern way. So here's how we do it in Savant. The first thing you do is you'll go into your AWS, your GCP, or your Azure cloud, and you'll create a function there to run your Python code. The virtue of that is it gives you a centralized place for security and governance. So this code isn't floating, ungoverned, decentralized out into your org. It's in one place for all governance controls. The second thing that's nice about doing it this way is you have all the lifecycle and versioning controls here. So if you publish Python and you send it out to people in your org, they're then always using whatever version of your code they got at that point in time. By having it all natively live in these public clouds, you get all that lifecycle control. You upgrade your Python script here, and the good news is the next time someone runs it, they'll always be using the latest and greatest. So that's why we do it this way. Let me show you how you do it. In today's example, I'm doing this in GCP Cloud using Cloud Functions, but it's very similar using the Azure functions, using AWS Lambda, etc. Really simple. So in this example, Cloud Functions in GCP, here I have a list of functions I've created. These are little code blocks essentially. I'm going to show you this first or the second one here, demo encrypt. It's a Python code. So to start, you create a new function and set up a Python job. I already have this one created though, so I'm going to go into it. And the first thing you'll do is you'll just come to the source area and you can drop in the Python you want. You can create multiple scripts here if you want, all sorts of options in your Python parser config here. Once you've written the code or input the code you want, just make sure you're calling in all the functions you want. So now this is really simple. You just get to work through the public cloud platforms to make sure you're using the right functions. You don't have to have this problem again where the next person to use your Python script has to make sure they've imported the functions on their local machine. This all gets done for you in the public cloud. Once you have your code up and running in the cloud, the last thing you need to do is just copy this URL, and that's the API URL to run your JSON. It's that simple. Then you go into Savant, you pull in the generic API tool you want to use right here. I already have it on my canvas. You would drop in that URL you just copied out of GCP. You make sure you're using the post method. And then if you don't have to pass along any configurations when calling the API, that's great. You would just have your body empty like this. But if you want to send in variables based on the contents of each data row, you just, in simple JSON format, you say, hey, I want parameter A to have value, and then you reference it with these double curly brackets to call or invoke data from each row. So in this case, I'm saying I have a parameter called secret, and I want to, for every row I call this on, I want to pass in the value from the content field as my secret. So then it's going to call this URL with a post, and it's for every row going to send off that content information for your secret parameter. It'll call it, and you'll quickly get back several things. So it'll tell you, it'll give you information about sort of the request headers and body that were sent over to invoke the JSON, or sorry, the Python. And then it'll give you the response back. So response body is what you want here. So here it's actually sending back all this data for me via the Python. And then 200 just means the call is successful, but if you have errors or anything like that trying to use the Python code via API, you'll get a response code here you can go look up and understand what the issue is. And with that, it's that simple to be managing your Python scripts in your public cloud platform having all that great security, governance, versioning, and lifecycle controls you want, and then calling it in Savant. Really, really simple, but really powerful. Let us know.